Good evening, YouTube. You're watching the Overcomer Network, and I'm your host, Delightful. The topic of tonight's video is questions that reveal who he is. So I've come up with some questions that reveal the character of the person you're dating. So this information is used to vet and weed out people that are not on the same life path as you. So I'll just go ahead and dive in. I've arranged these questions into 3 sections of like the dating / courtship period, early on in the dating phase. So that's where we'll start now, is early. Like, this is you don't really know a whole lot about the person. Maybe you've just exchanged numbers, or this might be your first, outing. Who knows how you do it. But early on in the relationship, before the man really gets a chance to know where I stand, what my morality is, what I'm about, sometimes I like to throw in some kind of curveball questions early on, because oftentimes a man will try to be what he thinks you want. Oftentimes people will try to mold themselves into what they think you want. So before he has an idea what you want or who you are, let's just try to see if we can determine what his character is. So starting off early, I like to ask some kind of off the wall questions, because he doesn't know if I'm a narcissist, or he doesn't know what kind of person I am. And there is a lot of men out there that like deviant women or perverse women or just freaky girls. So I want to know what kind of person is this that I'm dealing with. So sometimes I'll ask questions to kind of flush them out early on, and in that early stage, I like to try to see if I can flush out that narcissism. And so here we go. These are some questions that I come up with early on. So one of the first things I might ask is, what's the meanest thing you've ever done to someone? Because a lot of girls like bad boys and they don't really know what you're after. So they may play this up. Who knows? So when you ask what's the meanest thing they've ever done, you may want to see if what he's done has been done to a woman. And if so, that might be a red flag. Another question I would ask early on in the dating phase would be, what do you think a woman should do if a guy such as yourself talks to her and she doesn't want to be bothered? What do you think a woman should do if a guy such as yourself talks to her and she does not want to be bothered? So this question here, when he answers that can give you a pretty good idea. This question is designed to see, can this man handle rejection? If someone is coming up to you with a cold approach or street harassment, or however it goes, this would be a wonderful time to ask something like that. What do you think a woman should do if a guy such as yourself talks to her and she doesn't want to be bothered? So here you can find out what his expectations are. What does he feel he's entitled to? And the next question I'd follow that up with right after that would be, what do you think about a woman who doesn't do that? What do you think about a woman who doesn't validate your expectations? So this can let you know, can this man handle rejection? Can he tolerate that? Is he going to be like, like, let's say you ask the question, what do you think a woman should do if a guy such as yourself talks to her and she does not want to be bothered? He could be like, well, she could at least say, hi, how you doing? Or, just kind of smile or something. And then you could ask him, well, what do you think about a woman if she doesn't do that? And he might be like, oh, F that be, or I don't really care. Who knows? But this can kind of give you an idea of, can this man handle rejection? And then the next question I'd ask kind of early on would be, I might ask him something about a hot button issue, such as, I might ask him, how does he feel about the new late term abortion law that's been passed in New York? This can kind of, in the early stages, he does not know what kind of woman you are. He doesn't know what your morality is. He doesn't know what you're about. So when you ask these kinds of questions, you can sometimes get a good gauge at, what he values. Is he going to be, oh, a woman's right? I mean, her body, her choice. Or, I mean, I think a woman should be able to do whatever she wants to do. So I know one thing. It's been already, I've had an apple out that bag myself. But it's already been highly discovered that male feminists are, creeps. So you may want to watch for that. Another one I used to use back a while back was, I would ask people how do they feel about the Stormy Daniels Donald Trump situation. So one of the things I'm always looking for when I ask these type of hot button issue, this would be when you use a current event to kind of gauge where somebody's head is at. Is this person going to side with the whoremongers and the whores, the Jezebels and the Sodomites? Are they more leaning towards that party, or do they more have a moral compass? Is what I'm trying to find out with questions like that. Another question you can ask early on is, tell me about the last thing that really made you angry. So here you get a chance to see some of his reactions. How does he react in a situation where he's really angry? What are some of his triggers? Just to kind of see as you're listening to the story, does he really have is this a legitimate, different types of things, so you can kind of get a good idea of what you're dealing with through somebody else. Now, I also like to ask these questions early on in this preliminary phase before they really get a good idea of who I am. I like to ask them, so tell me about your greatest achievement. And here you can really, in these next questions here, you can really flesh out some narcissism. So you get to see kind of with, tell me about your greatest achievement. What are some of the things that they consider great? What are some of the things that they value? Are they boastful? Are they braggarts? You can kind of get an idea. A lot of people will take this kind of question and run with it. Another question I ask early on is, how important is sex to you? That's something you want to know. What are your motivations when pursuing sex? So you want to know, what are your motivations when pursuing sex? And some people, a lot of people, the obvious question for them is going to be sex. And that would kind of be a red flag, because this person, how many children do you have out of wedlock? Now that question right there, how many children do you have out of wedlock? Or not even how many, do you have any children out of wedlock? And that's almost like an instant eliminator. I love it. I like that question a lot, actually. And I like to ask that to people that have no chance at all. But what are your motivations when pursuing sex? Is this are you looking for a long-term partner, or is a guy just looking for somebody he finds attractive? What's available to him? You kind of know what his motivation. And also when you're asking these questions, you want a man that can keep up with the conversation. If a guy is not wanting to really apply his mental acumen to the relationship by telling you things like, oh, you're overthinking it, I don't really like to talk, this thing there, he's not fully engaged, and he's not fully applying himself. So you may want to kind of shake the dust from your feet if he's not able to express and talk to himself and talk about, if you want to see, does this man know himself? Is he able to internalize, reflect internally? Is he able to reflect internally upon himself? So you want to see what kind of communicator you are, because in a relationship, if a man is to lead, if a man is to be a leader in the relationship, it's communication rules the nation. So communication is very, very important. So you need a man that can communicate. How in control of your sexual urges are you? Yes, that's a good question. So you can kind of find out what is going on here. So now, if he has gotten past the first round of questioning, also I want to say really quick, you don't want to just take these questions out and shoot them off at a man rapid fire in interview style. That might be a little off putting. I would probably recommend, if you're going out on a date or taking a ride or whatever the situation may be, I might pick 2 questions at a time and just ask him. That way I can kind of meditate and, kind of chew on what his answers are, and also not make him feel like he's put on the spot. So if he's passed the first round of questioning and you're pleased with the guy and you're still wanting to get to know him, let's move on. So the next question I might ask is who, if anyone, are you accountable to? Yeah, this is a good question, because some people might be like, I'm a man, I don't answer to nobody, I do what I want to do. Or this will also give you a chance to see who is this man accountable to. What I'm actually looking for is I'm not even gonna say what I'm looking for, but it is, well, I mean, hey, you can't see me on here. So yeah, I obviously would want to hear something about the Most High. Does he play a factor? Is he at all in your thoughts? Because oftentimes people will be like, oh yeah, well of course, if you say to them, well, what about Heavenly Father or the Most High or something like that, they'll be like, oh yeah, of course. But you didn't mention that until somebody brought it up. Like, people want to make an assumption that no. You need to. For me, I want somebody who keeps the Most High at the forefront of their mind. Another question in the more intermediate level of dating is, describe your ideal relationship. So this can kind of this will kind of paint a picture. This will kind of paint a picture of, what is some of the images in his mind? What are some of his expectations? And is this compatible with the life that you're living and, what your purpose is and where you're headed? Another question would be, how do your rights differ in the relationship from that of the woman you're dating? How do your rights differ in the relationship from the woman you're dating? Do you have the same rights? Is the man, does the man hold a little more weight? What is the situation here? Because you want to see, are you going to be valued in this place? Is this going to be a safe place for you emotionally? So you kind of want to know, how do your rights differ in a relationship from the woman you're dating? And you may want to come up with some mock situations, such as, well, I mean, if he's like, oh yeah, me and my girl, we're the same or whatever, you might come up with a situation where, let's see, if there was a decision where we had to make it and we disagreed, how would we fix a dispute if we had one? Different things like that. That's what you're trying to see here. Is this person going to value you? Are you going to be treated? Is your voice going to be heard? Does your voice matter? Just a lot of things. You want to see how much value you have in this relationship. Along that same vein is, what do you feel is an equal exchange for a woman's energy, body, and time? What do you feel is an equal exchange for a woman's energy, body, and time? So, if he says something like his energy, body, and time, you need to get out of there, because this man is wanting to be the place of the woman. And, if you sense any bit, for me, what I'm looking for when I'm asking these questions is, I'm trying to flush out the sodomite spirit. I'm trying to flush out the narcissism. I'm trying to see, is this person, what's on the inside? What kind of character does this person have? So what do you feel is an equal exchange for a woman's energy, body, and time? And you need to make sure that, Is this something you can deal with? Another question is, what responsibility, if any, do you feel to a woman who shares her body, time, and energy with you? So this will be a good question to let you know this would be a good question to let you know exactly what you're dealing with and what you can expect from this person. So those are some more intermediate questions regarding the relationship. And then if he's satisfied if you're satisfied with those answers thus far, you can move into some more relationship type of questions, such as, if I said I felt degraded by something you asked me to do sexually, how would you respond? So you can kind of get an idea of this man going to say, oh, well, I probably try to ease you into it, or no, you might like it. Come on and try it. You want to see, is this man going to try to convince you, or is he going to respect your voice that you say this is making you uncomfortable and not ask you that again? You want to know what kind is this man, is he selfish about his desires at your expense? What's going on here? Another one is, tell me something about yourself that you're not proud of. Can this man express? Can he see any flaws within himself? Is he you don't want to be in a relationship with one of those partners that cannot admit to their wrong. Everything's your fault. You're always having to apologize. They're not solution seekers when there's a problem. It's just basically you holding the whole the relationship is held together at your expense, and you're kind of just being dragged through the mud, and that's what we don't want. How do you determine what is good or bad? How do you determine what is good or bad? What is their moral compass? Or if he's saying something like, it depends on the situation, well, I mean, hey, I guess that would be somebody to whatever is good or bad is what suits me at that time, and that could be a red flag. Another question is, what do you consider abuse? And if he says something to you like, I mean, well, of course, if punching a girl or slapping her, of course that's abuse. Okay, that's great, dear. That's really great. Now, what if that's abuse? Let me ask you what this is. If there's a certain woman that you've been keeping up conversation with, and I'd let you know this situation's making me very uncomfortable, and you continue to do that, is that abuse? If you get off of work at 4 and you don't come home till 7 and your phone is off, is that abuse? Different kinds of things. You want to know, are your feelings going to be validated here? Is this a safe place for you to invest your emotions? Okay, and another question I would ask too, this is also a good question, is you want somebody that can take a responsibility for when they do something wrong. When they're wrong, you want somebody that can acknowledge that, take responsibility of it, and actively seek solutions. So I also like to ask the question, if you could go back in time and correct a situation where you were wrong, what would that look like? So I'm trying to see, is this person able to acknowledge, because is this person able to acknowledge when they violated the boundaries or the rights of another person? Does this person have accountability of any kind? Because a lot of people, I've dated men in the past who could not see any fault in their actions, and it's emotionally damaging. It's very difficult to be in a relationship with somebody that doesn't accept any responsibility and is very prideful. It's very difficult. So another question I'd ask is, how important to you is it if the things you say and do cause the person you're with pain? How important is it to you? if I say I feel violated by something you did? How would you respond to that if I told you that I felt violated by something you did? And he might be like, well, what do you mean? And I'd be like, okay, well, let's say we were out and I said, baby, it hurt my feelings the way I don't really like the way that you're looking. I seen you looking at the waitress, or I felt like you were a little flirtatious. Is this man going to validate your feelings? Is he going to brush your feelings off? Is he going to minimize your feelings? These are some things that you're trying to weed out early in the situation before you get too invested. Okay, so those are the questions that I've come up with so far. But I'm just going to take a moment to talk about the current dating market that we're in right now. So we're living in the end times, and the Jezebel sodomite spirit is running rampant in most people. A lot of these people are insane, and they have a lot of these different movements going on now. The feminist movement, the MGTOW movement, where they're doing a lot of gender blaming, and it's a lot of division amongst the men and the women. But I'm not going to point the finger at all guys, and I know that there are good women out there, but for the most part, what you have out here are witches and warlocks, sodomites and lesbians, and many of these women hate men. Many of these women hate men, and many of these men hate women. Oftentimes these women are looking at the man like an ATM, and a lot of these men feel entitled and validated and get an ego boost out of getting access to a woman sexually without giving her the commitment that she desires. And it's a very ugly dating situation. But I want to tell you that you don't have to become a man hater. You don't have to become a woman hater. Just be discerning. Just get you some discernment. If you sense any bit of sodomy, if you sense that sodomite spirit, if you sense any cowardice, that's what many of these people are, is cowards that do not want to take responsibility for their reactions, and they're looking to dump their weight onto somebody else. So if you can weed out the people that are looking for a crutch, somebody to carry their weight, or not really trying to invest in an equal exchange, you can eliminate a lot of things from a lot of drama, I suppose. So yes, that's about it. That is about it. Thank you so much for listening. Y'all have a great night.